I purchased this on a Tuesday evening online. This is Friday. The shipping company called and told me they couldn't deliver it until the following Tuesday. I'd already taken 2 days off from work, so I decided I would go down and pick this up. They told me show up after 3, so this is probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It took me approximately 2 hours to fully assemble and test this, so I've compressed 2 hours down into 20-minute video. Unbanded it, didn't see any damage on there, lots of screws to take out, very well packaged, no issues. Again, lots of screws, one stripped out screw out of the whole mess, but that didn't hold anything up. Was missing one of the little L brackets on the back there. Don't know what was up with that. Didn't look like it got ripped off or anything. It looked like it was just never put on. Lots of little brad nails in there. Big pry bar. Pry it off. Careful. Lots of pokies. Try to knock it out with my hand now. Take it apart with a hammer. Careful not to hit the machine. Nope, it all just fell apart. Grab a box of goodies and read the instructions. I did look at the instructions online quite a bit before I purchased this. Just going to go over quickly, get to the inventory so I can inventory the parts, make sure that I have everything there. The instructions could be a little bit better. You'll see I had some issue when I was assembling this. Little box of parts inside of a box of parts. Plastic hand wheel. Elbow. Wheels and axle assembly. And all the pieces to put together the stand. I'll bring in my little shop cart for assembly. Lay everything out on that. And again, this is where the instructions were a little not informative. Would have been better with an exploded view. All the nuts and bolts. No issue with the nuts and bolts not being there. All of them were there. All in good shape, stripped out nuts and bolts. And just take all these little bitty carriage bolts and the acorn nuts. Well, I guess they're not acorn nuts, they're lock nuts. And just start assembling it. Again, this is where an exploded view would have come in a lot handier, because I did end up not paying attention to the fact that there are front legs and back legs. And I would have to disassemble it and reassemble it correctly. Which, if all you had were hand tools and no power tools, well, that could really get to be a stressor. But instructions say fully assemble it before you tighten everything down. Well, I had to tighten just a few of them down just to hold it into shape. All laid out flat. And also these are the top. These also, if you'll notice on the upper left there is a slotted hole. And putting the other one together, the slotted hole goes down. I'm just going to flip the whole assembly on the right over on top of the one on the left and continue to nut and bolt the thing together. Put the cross braces, the short cross braces. Again, a lot of nuts and bolts. Tailgate makes a great work surface. Great tool holder, great parts holder. Get some more nuts and bolts ready. Make sure they're ready. Flip it over. Do a little contorting. Try to get the holes to line up. They almost like to line up. A couple of them in there to hold it steady. And flip it upright so that upside down so that you can continue assembling. And what I was saying about the legs, later on the wheels and the handles go on, and the legs have specific holes where where they line up. Get the last of the braces on. I do notice that the G and the 6 in the part number look very similar, even if they are upside down. And just going through, putting all the nuts and bolts in. And now start tightening everything down. Boy, this is going to be exhaustive. If I, you know what, I got air tools. I'll get an air ratchet. I can assemble it a lot faster with an air ratchet. So just go to town. Like I say, when I get it all put together, I have to disassemble it. Having an air ratchet makes it a lot easier to take it apart. So I wasn't too exhausted. More frustrated. A little maintenance on the air ratchet. Use the air ratchet to pretty much do all the threading down. Come back with the hand ratchet and tighten everything down. Make sure everyone's tightened. Kind of follow a sequence so that you make sure you get every single nut and bolt. Don't want loose nuts and bolts. Get it all tightened down. Eventually find some that you didn't quite get with the ratchet. We go through in a sequence. There. Now, this is where I discovered. Legs. They got holes. Yeah. Okay. Take it apart. Like I said, having an air ratchet or maybe even an electric impact sure comes in handy. This would have been pretty frustrating had I had this all tightened down by hand and then realized I had to take it all back apart. Well, not all of it, halfway apart. But as it was, it took 5-10 minutes to take it back apart, put it back together the right way. Again, in an exploded drawing, exploded view would have been really helpful and really point out front and back legs. I know the instructions do call it out, but it's something you overlook real easily. The instructions were kind of confusing anyway. I just used them basically make sure I had all the parts. I mean, most of us have done this type of stuff a lot. You gotta put something together. So, make sure you get everything tight. Now the wheels will go on. Now were they covered with oil? They are oily. Make sure you're reading the instructions correct. Oily. The ratchet. They send you the little tools, little wrench, a couple Allen wrenches. Come in handy. You can hand tighten it down. Make sure everything's tight. You get the handles. Again, more assembly. These also were very oily. Don't know why you would oil up plastic handles, but I guess the grips were plastic. Makes the nuts and screws hard to grasp. Take the impact, tighten her down. That work. Okay. And move everything out of the way. Does it sit? Yep, sits. Thing off of the other work surface onto the wooden work surface. Now for the piece de resistance. Again, very well packaged, bolted down in 2 places, 2 bolts, not super tight. Take those bolts. I'll save all the little screws, nuts, and bolts from the packaging. Don't know what I'm going to do with them. Here we go. The instructions recommend having help. Well, I'm impatient. I'm lift it up and set it down. And they say it weighs 200 pounds or better. It does. Lift it up, set it down. It's kind of worried about the cord. I didn't see where it went, but unfortunately it just slipped right through the stand. It's not completely on there. I have to position it over a few inches. Just slide it over. Line up the holes. I'm kind of leery. It doesn't look, not too sure about it. Not wobbling. Put a bolt in. Make sure it doesn't slip off. Some of the holes don't look like they're lining up. I'd hate to have to take this thing apart now, but they lined up for the most part. One gave me a little bit of problem. But kind of got the thread started on it a little bit. Get a socket, just thread it on, thread it down just a little ways. Put the nut and the washer on. Go to town and tightening it up. They didn't send a wrench for that arrangement. But I've got a complement of metric and standard American English sockets and wrenches, so I have pretty much everything. That was about it for assembly. Cleaned everything out, closed the garage door back down. Lighting's a little better. Put the handle on. The socket comes in handy too for putting it in. It has a keyway on it. Put the nut on there. Crank it up and down. Oh, dummy. You gotta release the side. Yep, there. Runs up and down. Refer back to the instructions. Instructions say turn it on. Listen for noise. At this point, decided to go ahead and run some test pieces through. I have some hard maple that I resaw down with the table saw, finish off with the band saw. So there's a little strip down there. And I basically purchased this for doing such things as this. Make little boxes and resaw a lot of the wood. Just using it kind of like a surface planer, a thickness planer. Mind you, this is right out of the box. Okay, so I had a dozen pieces. It seems to be sanding. So I'll run all 1 dozen pieces through there. It doesn't stop to show every single piece, but you can see progressively how the burn marks from the table saw start disappearing. It is about a 60 or 80 grit. So again, like I said, what I'm using it for is more like a thickness planer. I'll final sand by hand with a ROS. Just going through the motions. Play with the speed control on the feed table. Speed it up a little bit. Seem to be going through there. Yeah, every once in a while, one would hold up a little bit. Didn't notice any snipe, which is really nice. Has feed rollers similar to planer. And start over. Say don't throw multiples in at a time. Seems to be doing a pretty good job. It's a lot quicker than I thought it would be. Not near as loud as a hand sand or as a planer. Yeah, I'll just turn up the table speed a little bit more, run them through there, keep them going. And yes, I'm very satisfied.